Welcome to Ryco Workshop Heroes. Today we're back at Tickford Racing, where we're going to see how the team is progressing with the new Gen 3 platform for 2023. Good to see you again, Matt.
G'day Luke, good to see you again.
Yeah, it's been about a year. You gave us a really good tour of this Tickford facility. Now, what's changed since then, namely the Gen 3 platform?
A significant amount has changed, Luke, since you've been here. A completely new platform.
Yep.
That being said, from front to back, let's have a quick look if you like.
Let's start with the front. Now, obviously, a lot of people will recognise this engine. It carries a lot more OE parts, doesn't it, compared to what you guys used to run?
Absolutely. So what we're seeing here is the Coyote, the Ford HPE engine, designed and built in the US, delivered by Herod Engines in Queensland. Great unit, and it represents an OE product, and which is what Ford wanted. They wanted a closer DNA to what is seen in their road car. Basically, this is a road car engine. We put it into our Gen 3 platform and we go race it. A lot of drivability improvements have been made with this engine. You know, it's a smoother engine, power deliverables are different.
Yeah. First thing I noticed about the engine is, Matt, completely different intake system. It looks like you've got an electronic throttle, obviously. The old engines ran an 8 throttle butterfly system, didn't they?
Yeah, vastly different air intake, Luke. It runs through a single throttle body manifold setup. Gone are the 8 throttle body setup that the Gen 2 cars had. Electronic throttle, as you mentioned. Drive-by-wire system. The drivers can adjust sensitivity. So they've got a lot more adjustability inside the cockpit, but more namely so, a different air intake for the engine.
This looks like essentially what you'd see on steroids, but what you'd see on a street car, an over-the-radiator style air intake system.
Absolutely. You see your hotted up road cars with this sort of air entry system to the engine. It's quite common. We have no issues with it and it works well. These engines produce about 610 horsepower. We're actually seeing very good horsepower return and durability.
And you were just saying off camera that even after driving it in the wet,
Test day one at Eastern Creek this year, we were a bit sceptical. You know, we had probably 15 to 20 mil of rain that day. We fully expected it to be, completely unusable again. We got it back and we were supremely impressed that it was actually in very good condition. Just
like the standard Coyote V8 road car, this runs an off-the-shelf Ryco Syntec filter, doesn't it?
Correct. So much like the Gen 2 oil filter, off-the-shelf Syntec filter.
Off-the-shelf, yep.
Straight on. Again, we see awesome durability, and we've proved it in the Gen 2 car. Cam won straight off the bat at Newcastle, so we were happy with that. We'll still do our oil samples, we'll still cut filters apart, and we'll see what particles we're picking up. Due diligence will tell us when the engine's nearing end life or mid-life or whatnot.
Still looking at this front section, one thing I have noticed, this is obviously modular. This can come away, unlike some of the older cars where you might have an incident and it's a lot of work to fix it.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, it's a completely new platform. So we've got a front crash structure now. It's completely removable. There's also a rear crash structure now, and the centre section remains. It's very similar to last year, but again, completely new platform for this year. A fair amount of changes in the cockpit this year, Luke. A lot less driver adjustability, no more anti-roll bar adjusters, no more brake bias, quick shift. The driver's got an old manual brake bias adjuster. He's got a few more switches on the steering wheel that he can adjust, but otherwise we're maintaining driver input for getting the speed out of the car. As you would have seen at Newcastle and Grand Prix, the cars do move around a lot under brakes. Driver inputs are now very, very important, and it makes up the overall speed of the lap time of the car.
So essentially you're making the cars a bit more fun to drive.
Yeah, well they're harder. Yeah. They're harder to drive.
Is the driving position the same, or has it come in? Has it always been that?
The driving positions, it's very similar. I think it's another 100 mil inboard of last year's Gen 2 cars, so it is further in again. They've upgraded the leg protection capsule area. It's a full capsule unit now.
I saw there was a lot of debating online about the shifter, paddle shift versus the manual shift.
Yeah, we voted for the manual shift. It's still an art to driving these cars. and I think they would have taken that drivability away had they have gone paddle shift. So, we were happy that they left the gear shifter there. And it just adds the theatre to the whole spectacle. So we move on to the rear. They've moved the fuel cell directly behind the bulkhead. They've moved it from basically underneath the car. It is now higher up in the car. Its volume has increased to 135 litres now. So we've gone from 110 to 135, so we can have longer stints on track, longer races, a bit more duration racing. Running the same transaxle as the Gen 2 car, same rear suspension, but everything that you see rearward externally, so bodywork, fixtures, boot lid, rear wing main plane, all new for Gen 3.
So that would obviously maybe contribute to the handling as well, wouldn't it? Moving that weight of the fuel.
Yeah, a significant amount of weight central now. So, the centre of gravity is now closer inboard to the centre line of the car. Yeah, there's fors and against. I think these cars have a lower centre of gravity, so they're a better engineered car,
yes,
so to speak, but less aero.
Yeah, I was just looking at that there. This wing is relatively small, isn't it, compared to the last car?
Yeah, so we've seen probably a 85 to 90% decrease of aero downforce that we see with this rear wing. But yeah, significantly different, a lot less drag. Yes. So these cars are faster in the straight line. So when we get to Bathurst, you might see these cars go over 300.
Yeah, okay. But they'll be a little bit harder to drive through the chase corner, I'm
Correct.
imagining.
So what we gain in a straight line, we lose in a corner now with the Gen 3 car, and that's what we're seeing. So overall lap times are very similar to the Gen 2 car, purely because these things are so fast in a straight line.
Yeah, and you guys obviously make all the composite bodies here?
Yes, we do, yep. We've got an in-house carbon shop, so the guys have been feverishly making all our composite parts.
Moving on to the car, Matt, this is a lot of the stuff I haven't seen before, so it's pretty cool. In the past, I think, was it not secretive, but...
Yeah, it's been a little bit bespoke to teams, Luke.
To teams.
We've always guarded that IP from the likes of yourselves.
That's fair enough.
Completely open and transparent here. So yeah, the underside of the 5-litre Coyote engine into the controlled exhaust that the Ford has, slightly different to the GM, but overall same.
Do you have a limit on how many engines you can run?
We can have 2 engines per car.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And we can rotate them through the season as we wish as a team.
So looking under here, Matt, obviously a big change from the last car is the diffuser system and the floor pan.
Significant change, Luke, in the front under tray. There's now significantly less aero on these cars.
Yeah.
More notably so that the rear diffuser now runs the full width of the rear of the car.
Oh wow.
We can see where it attaches to the crash box and it ties into the rear bar. Mm-hmm. This also aids rear downforce.
Yeah, yeah. One thing that is sort of nice as an outsider is because of a lot of the control parts, we can obviously show them now and have a look at them.
Yeah, it's good for the wider public to see basically it's artwork, these cars.
It is, yeah.
And it's great for the general public to be able to see what we do.
Yep.
The intricacies of these cars is quite cool.
All right, we just looked at the underbody, Matt. Now I noticed you've got some brakes on some other parts here. Let's have a look at that. Has much changed this year in terms of brakes?
We've still got a controlled brake package as such, Luke. 395mm AP rotor, controlled Ferrodo DS3 pad. Now it's a controlled compound. Years gone past we've had multi-compound that we could choose from. Now single compound. Brake caliper, fundamentally the same. 6-piston caliper, monoblock, high-powered braking unit.
That is a nice bit of gear. Now coming over to this table, we've got the Ryco filter inside this beautiful airbox. I picked this up earlier, I couldn't believe how light it was.
I know Ryco has spent a lot of time designing and developing. You'd see the rubber seal around the outside edge there, perfect seal inside the airbox, so we got no leakage.
I hear there's over 7 square metres of material to make that.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? They can fit that amount of material in such a small square meterage area.
What's this? We've got an upright here, it looks like.
Yeah, so we've got that's a controlled bare upright body that's machined in-house actually.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's go and check it out.
Have a look at that. Always interested to look at CNC billet components. It doesn't matter what it is, they all look great.
They're an awesome machine that produce those parts, quite an intricate part. we see this is how the upright starts as a raw billet. So we get the billet in a block form. The machines and the guys behind us here turn those beautiful uprights up. That's not the only thing we make. We make everything in-house just to help reduce our costs as a whole for
Obviously
going
time
racing.
too, when you're in control, you've got a lot more control if you're making things.
Absolutely. These machines run overnight, so the need or a want for a newly designed part, which we've seen a lot of in the last 3 months. Lots of new parts come through here.
How did you handle that in the off-season, going from making an X component, and now you've got to make a Y component? They're completely different.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was a very, very tough off-season. The guys had very minimal break over the Christmas, New Year's period. Came back early from holidays and we were straight into it. Lots of hours. The guys worked late nights and weekends just to get to the first initial shakedowns, test days, and obviously Newcastle after that. Yeah, you'll see here, Luke, this is a new front under tray splitter setup that we've got for the Gen 3, completely different to the Gen 2 car. You'll notice all these big holes everywhere. It's obviously to reduce the downforce effect. We've now got plastic grinding rub blocks designed so we could change that over quickly.
Yeah.
It's more a cost-effective way to save the main frame structure.
I know you've got a spare engine in the dyno room here, Matt.
One of 4 spare engines that we have from HPE.
The beauty about this, it looks like a factory crate engine.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Matt, here we've got a controlled Herod 5.4 litre Coyote engine. You guys can't really do anything to this, can you, at all?
No, Luke, we're completely locked out.
Yeah.
You'll see these seals here from Supercars. Once Herod build the engine, they send it to Supercars, they dyno it, they make sure it's the horsepower that it's supposed to be, and then they hand it to the teams.
And just like the engine itself, it also has a control Ryco Syntec filter.
That's right, it comes straight out of the box.
You guys were already using Ryco filters on your Gen 2 engines.
Yeah.
You've got one in here. I can actually see it's got a Syntec filter on it.
So we went to this filter when we partnered with Ryco and saw an immediate gain.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were more than happy with this product. Again, off the shelf, bolt-on horsepower, that's what every supercar team wants.
How have you found the difference between this and the Coyote engine? They're quite different in a way. You've got
vastly
overhead
different.
cam and...
Yeah, so obviously these are only 5 litre capacity, push rod engine, 8 throttle body injection. Now that we look at it as a team, this is old school material, so it's actually a breath of fresh air to see the 5.4 Coyote.
Yeah, I've always said that a cam in block V8 always sounds better, but that Coyote engine sounds pretty good for a new modern technology engine, doesn't it?
I'd much prefer the Coyote in my street car as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Obviously, Matt, tyres are a massive key component in the supercars. Now, you guys this year are running a different wheel.
Yeah, so it's a completely new design, Luke. Different outer spoke face, different wheel offset. It's a different size diameter spindle hub, different wheel nut also. We've got a washer system too to aid the nut. Different retention system in the nut, so now we can't actually easily remove the nuts out of these wheels. So it's important for the pit crew to be well versed on pit stops because it's actually a smaller diameter thread now, and more importantly, the compound is new for 2023. It's a much softer tyre.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot more tyre degradation, especially at the hotter events, and you'll see dicing, more racing, and that's what they're aiming to improve.
What's the advantage of not using the tapered nut?
We can run a lighter tension on the wheel. So it actually allows us to go to a battery-operated rattle gun.
Oh, really?
Gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're trying to do away with the pneumatics.
So you won't see the cameraman tripping over the airlines.
The lines and stuff like that. It's probably going to be a while away before we use it in an actual pit stop during a race. But it's certainly where the general direction of the category is heading. It's gone from a 2-inch diameter spindle thread to 38 mils. So significantly smaller and a flat face nut, less tension.
How have you found the race over a race weekend? What's the difference between this year and last year?
Subtle changes. The cars, they're still fundamentally they're the same. but over a duration of the weekend, they're a little bit easier to work on because there's so much more controlled variables. It sort of limits the teams on what they can and can't do now with the set parameters that we've got.
Once again, Matt, thanks for showing us around Tickford and showing us the new changes for this year. Best of luck for the season, and we'll be watching you with great interest.
No worries, Luke. Thanks for coming out today.